Hey everyone, AngryHoneyBadger here, and it is time for us to take a look at another build video today. We're going to be playing as Teemo, and we're going to be in the middle lane with him in the Badger skin, because that just makes sense for me, honestly. This is very similar, or exactly similar, to how you take him if you're taking him into the top lane. Whenever I am going to play Teemo, if I'm going to play Teemo, I'm going to either just say I can top or mid him, because it's very, very similar, because nowadays the best way to build Teemo is pretty much a full AP Teemo, and that kind of comes into play based off some of the newer items in some of the more recent seasons, I guess. I think the last Teemo build I did was season 1 or 2, or probably 2, so a while ago. But what we're going to do today is we're going to go ahead and talk about his abilities. We're going to talk about runes and masteries, items, some techniques, and we're actually going to talk about why people hate Teemo and why people like Teemo, because it's a very debated argument on both sides. Now, first thing we're going to do is talk about those abilities. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and talk about his passive. What happens there is when you are stealth, oh, hey, check it out. Somebody goes AFK, like, next to their tower and thinks they're safe. Not true. So, although we had a DC, I don't know about him. He'll be back in 2 seconds. Anyways, his passive, Camouflage. If Teemo stands still for 2 seconds, it doesn't take damage or anything, he's going to go stealth for an infinite amount of time. So that is what will happen there. Once he comes out of stealth, though, he does gain 40% attack speed. It's kind of nifty, not really super necessary. It's actually pretty good for hiding, though. But that is Teemo's passive. Teemo's Q is his Blinding Dart. He basically shoots somebody with this. It's going to deal magic damage, and it does scale with ability power. And when it hits them, it is going to blind the attacker, causing them to miss their standard attacks. The duration gets longer the more points you put into it. So it's kind of good. We're going to put a point into this at level 2. And then at level, typically 4, we're going to put a point into Move Quick, which is Teemo's W. Now, Move Quick passively grants him movement speed, which is kind of nice, and is never a terrible thing. When you activate it, for 3 seconds, Teemo gains double his passive movement speed, and will not lose it if he is hit. So, very nice. It does cause you to chase quite well. I kind of run a mobility Teemo, as I like to call it. I take Flash, and I take Ghost. I like to chase, and I like to stay safe. Both of these allow me to do that really, really well, too. So, slight overkill, kind of. Some people might be like, well, what about, like, Ignite? And Ignite's good, but we don't really need Ignite, because we have our E ability, which is our Toxic Shot, and this is what we put a point into at level 1. We'll be maxing this out first. Passively, each time you attack someone, they will be poisoned, dealing damage to them over time, and this does stack a few times as well. It does magic damage, and it scales from ability power, so that's why everything's kind of more ability power Teemo now. Everything just kind of scales really well that way. And this is going to be up for, I believe, 4 seconds. And that's what's going to happen there. Basically, it's going to do a lot of damage. And it's fun. That's Teemo's just poison damage. It's just hard to ignore. So we're going to put in points in this. We try to poke him in lane when we can. Luckily for Yasuo, he does have that shield that is helping protect him from my pokes a little bit. So we're just kind of farming in this lane. We both are. And we're just pretty neutral because of it for now. And then finally, we have the ultimate for Teemo, which is his Noxious Trap. Basically, you can place a mushroom on the ground. When someone steps on it, it will explode, and it will slow them, cause that magic damage. It does scale from ability power as well. It's going to basically do a decent amount of damage to them while it slows them. So it does slow them for, I believe, 4 seconds, and the duration on that is increased as you put points into it. So is the damage. And you can hold up to 3 of these at a time, but you can have basically infinite of them on a map. They are up for 10 minutes at a time. So as many as you can get down in that time, as long as you can keep creating them fast enough, whether or not you have some cooldown reduction, which right now we do have a little bit of cooldown reduction based off the first main item we went back and purchased. Now, the first thing we did start off in-game is we actually started off with a Doran Shield, because that actually is giving us really, really good stats in this part of the season so far, and we can take a pot. So we are just ignoring a lot of damage that they bring to us. Here, Yasuo is kind of, I don't know, baiting out a gank that Twisted Fate comes in way too far behind on. And I'm just poking him. I'm going to deal enough damage and kill him. I'm just going to run away from the Twisted Fate, who is their bottom laner right now. They're actually running the AD Fate. So, picked up a fairly simple kill. I think the baiting of it took a little too long. I saw what they would have done. I still would have focused one of them and just ran away, because I have Flash, I have Ghost. I'm really fast. I can even use my Move Quick to get away even faster. So, Teemo's really mobile because of this. This trip back to base, we picked up the Haunting Guise, And then we picked up the first part of boots and a little bit of attack speed. We have multiple items we're building right now. We're just getting a handful of things that are helpful for us. The Haunting Guise is helpful. We get more ability power. We get a little bit of health. Never a terrible thing. We have some magic penetration now, too. So whenever we do get those pokes off, we're just going to shred through them a little bit quicker. We still have some AP from that tome, or from that codex, I mean. And now we got a little bit more move speed with the boots and a little bit more attack speed with the dagger. So very, very nice there. Luckily, Aatrox, when he tries to gank, I can kind of see him coming in. I can just put shrooms up wherever I want. I also still have my little warding totem too. So I have all types of ways that I can get some good vision, so you can stay pretty safe as Teemo when you are in lane. That is one benefit to Teemo. Now, going back to our abilities, typically the maxing out order, what I was saying was we max out that E first for that damage, because that's your most consistent damage when you are standard attacking. You're going to be maxing out, well, I personally like to max out my Q next, second, because it does deal a lot of damage, and the blind duration is really good, especially on champions that are standard attack champions. So Yasuo, Aatrox, people who are going to be jumping on you and standard attacking you, if you can blind them and have any of their standard attacks hit you, you're going to be able to kill them before they almost do any damage to you at all. So that's what we're going to be doing there. And then max out your move quick last. Obviously, we're going to put points into the ultimate at levels 6, 11, and 16. Pretty standard. Now, the reasons why people like and hate Teemo, and this is the way I like to explain it. I actually don't mind playing Teemo at all. I think he's actually slightly fun, he's kind of goofy, and he annoys the crap out of people. Now, the reasons why I do hate Teemo is I hate if anyone else plays Teemo, and that's mostly because when other people play Teemo, they seem to do terrible, at least in my experience when they're on my team. And this is like Teemo's like double-edged sword. Actually, really, really, well, Aatrox comes back, but solid work by those two to clean us two up. But here's what happens. You get a Teemo on your team, and they're either going to be really, really good and kill everything, or terrible, not help at all, and basically he's worthless then in team fights, and he can't really do too much because he doesn't have the survivability. We're going to address some of that in the future in this build, what we can do with that. But that's kind of like Teemo's two sides. Like, he either is fed and murders people, or he's just terrible and doesn't help in any way at all. So that's why I think people like and hate Teemo. He's really not super difficult to fight against, at least I don't think he is. You just have to bait out the blind. That's kind of the main thing with Teemo. If Teemo burns the blind early before he starts getting attacked from that champion, all you have to do is then turn around and let the blind wears off, and essentially Teemo's really squishy. It's not going... He's just, you know, he's going to die quickly. So that's one of the main differences, I'd say, is knowing when you can poke more often and when you can use your blind, because your blind is kind of your savior when you try to fight somebody 1v1, especially an attack damage champion. So the main thing is, like, if I'm up against a Teemo and he pokes me in lane with his blind and not with a standard attack, I'm like, okay, well, all he's going to do from now on is either run away or standard attack me and deal some poison damage to me, but he can't blind me again. So I'm going to be able to do all the damage I can to him and not have to worry about it. So if he uses the blind, you got about that, I don't know how long blind is on cooldown. I think it's about 8 seconds. But you have an 8-second window to do basically anything you want without worrying about him blinding your attacks. And that's kind of the fine edge. So if Teemo blinds you with a poke and you weren't really engaging, turn around and go jump on his face. He's not going to blind you again. You're going to get plenty of damage off. You're going to force him to retreat, or you're going to kill him, because it doesn't take much to do that. Here we're going to come down into bottom lane behind them. Going to just kind of poke them a couple times. She will die from poison. And Twisted Fate, he's going to get shot like 4 times. He'll die to poison as well. At this point in the game, we did finish off our first 2 items. We did get the Nashor's Tooth helping us out with some cooldown reduction, some attack speed, and some AP. Very helpful there. All 3 of those things worked really well on Teemo. And then we also did pick up the Liandry's Torment. Very good item on Teemo. When people have the Liandry's, and when they step on the mushrooms, they get the extra damage from Liandry's to go off on all the mushrooms they step on. So they're going to be taking even more percentage damage because of it. And it just teams up really, really well with Teemo. The main thing I'll say about Teemo, back in the day, you could have built Teemo either AD, hybrid, or AP. It kind of worked out anyway, because it just did. But now with the introduction of Liandry since Season 3, that's kind of like his bread and butter item. It just works super well. So I would highly recommend just doing the full AP. Here we're going to try to dive. Leon doesn't land a thing, so I'm going to take too much turret damage, but I will pick up the kill from poison damage. And we're doing fine. We're 8-2. This is Teemo. I only got a couple items, but this time back at base, I have finished off boots too now. There's a couple different versions of boots I would recommend. So what we can do there is attack speed's not terrible, but I want to nuke more than attack them over and over. So we're going to go with magic penetration boots. So all the magic damage is going to just basically melt them a little bit more. So we got a handful of that happening now. And then you could always do Merc Treads if you needed those. It's not a terrible idea. The tenacity does help you stay alive. So definitely another good choice. If you just want to get around the map quick and try to gank, you can always go for the Boots of Mobility. That's not a terrible choice. There I got murdered by Nidalee, and then as I looked down, I was like, oh, their support's not really a support. She's got a Deathcap. Good one, Nidalee. So, yes, Teemo. So at this point, though, we do have that Needless Large Rod that we picked up and a Blasting Wand. Very helpful there. They're in our base trying to do work. It's not going to happen in this game. Gonna go try to chase down the Yasuo. He did put up his stupid shield, so we have to wait to attack so we don't just hit the shield. And I think he's gonna die. Yes, he will. Hoyt will pick that up. We're gonna keep chasing, though, because, well, it's Mundo and it's Teemo. You're not gonna kill Mundo, and Teemo's just annoying, because when he's slightly fed like me, you're gonna be able to kill people. So, we're gonna kill the Twisted Fate, and now we're gonna use the Ghost to start to chase after the Rumble. We're gonna hit him a few times, fairly hard. And you can see the damage, the ticks, the Liandry's going off, all that. He will be shut down. And we'll get another kill there. Very fun. That's what we like to do as Teemo. So, some of those are your things around Teemo, all the stuff we've been talking about, how, you know, you need to bait the blind out or use the blind correctly. You know, don't just poke with it unless, you know, like you plan on not getting into any engagement and you're going to be safe from them to jump on you. Because, yeah, it does some decent damage, and it's fun because of that. But if you use it and then they're like, oh, you've used your blind, I'm going to jump on your face. That's going to not probably end up too well for you. So you got to be really careful with it. I think we do it in a little bit to Yasuo. He does turn to fight because he knows he's not going to get away, but I blind him and I essentially take no damage at all when we fight. At this point, we are going to finish off that Deathcap, though. Now we have a lot of ability power. And now everything's going to hurt even more. And at this point, those 4 items are kind of, counting your boots, are kind of your main, I'd say your core. After this, it gets situational. I go for an overkill item in a second after we're going to murder more of these guys. He's going to melt out, and we'll pick up the kill. I saw Aatrox jump this way, and he actually started going, so I actually going to pick up the double kill there. So, just decided to keep chasing, because Teemo's actually fairly good at chasing with all that movement speed. Oh, and I think we're actually going to come down here, too, and find a Nidalee. I think we're going to standard attack her, blind her, standard attack her, or it's going to hit her then, and since she moved quick, you know, it's going to kill her afterwards. But, essentially, I hit her twice almost there and killed her, so Teemo does a lot of damage. It's fun. But he dies fast, so all they gotta do is turn around and, like, 2 of them focus you, and you will die. It will happen at one point in this build. I know about it. Because I was in this game. Because that's how that works. Anyways, for our runes and our masteries, we'll go ahead and talk about those a little bit. After we help murder more people. Actually, this is where Yasuo decides to turn and fight. You have been blinded. I am not taking damage from you. You are now dead. He ignited me. That's the only damage I really took there. So, you can essentially negate all of someone's damage if you can kill them fast enough, which is exactly what we're trying to do with Teemo. So that is what we wanted. At this point, though, we will talk about runes and masteries a little bit. As for those masteries, I actually go with kind of your AP caster setup. You go with that 2190, and that's mostly what we're going to be going for. It's going to help us out really well. You could honestly take a hybrid page, but you want 9 points in the defense because you are going to die. You are Teemo. We've picked up one of my survivability items, one of the situational ones, and this helps me chase even easier when I blind them, or if they hit mushrooms, they're just really not going to go anywhere at all. We picked up the Rylai's Crystal Scepter. It's got us AP, it's got us armor, it's got that awesome slow. So people are never going to really be getting away now. I like it as a really good item. There's another one I would kind of swap it out with, but at this point, like I said, we're kind of situational. So this is one of those situationals that I think I tend to get most often. Quick double kill. We're Teemo. We're kind of fed. We're just Teemo. But going on to the runes, since we covered masteries, as for runes, what we like to do with those is there's 2 choices I think you can take. You can go with kind of like your AP mid setup where you get the armor pennant, or not armor, sorry, magic penetration marks. You get the mana regen seals. If you don't want those, though, you can totally take the armor seals. Those will work out great for you. Here, me and Silver are going to blow up Aatrox. He has been blinded, therefore no standard attack will hurt us. Once again, use the blind correctly, and everybody just gets laughed at. And then, as for those glyphs, we are going to go with the AP per level, and quintessence, we're also going to go with AP ones there, too. So early damage is good on our poison shot. or a toxic shot, I mean, and on anything else we use that has any magic damage to it, so it's going to hurt. Here we're going to turn around and get back into a fight, and look at how fast we are. Look how fun that is. Thanks for the speed up. We're going to go ahead and pick up a kill on the Twisted Fate. We're going to poke somebody and pick up a kill there because Nidalee deserves to die. And, yeah, this game's going to slowly start rounding out to an end, although this replay is going to have a hilarious end because little replay breaks a lot. But that's normal. So those are those runes and masteries. That's what I would highly, highly recommend. Another thing about shrooming, people might wonder about that. Where are good places to put them? I'd say highly traveled areas. Another thing I do also enjoy doing with shrooms is putting them in lane. Like, down the middle of a lane. Every, like, I don't know. Just occasionally. Because if you guys die and they start trying to push with minion waves, you're going to just blow up minion waves. They're not going to have anything to push with, or it's going to slow them down, or it's going to get them killed, because at that point, I mean, like right now, if a Twisted Fate steps on about 2 of these mushrooms, they're going to die. He's just going to die from 2 of them. It's going to deal enough damage. So, I think right now, Rumble just stepped on one, and so did Yasuo, and we're going to go check on that. But unfortunately, this game's going to end out. We are actually finished with our Hourglass to help protect us. We're going to blow up Yasuo, because he deserves to die too. But the game's going to end in just a second because the replay is going to time out. Unfortunately, we are basically full build. And thanks, little replay. But anyways, that's Teemo Build. Everything's in the description. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll just see all of you next time. After we kill Thresh and start heading towards Morgana, we do have Sivir coming across the map to try to join us for this fight. I am unfortunately going to run into Lee Sin, and he's going to kind of block off. Now, what he does is he overcommits here. He doesn't see the rest of the team, so we're going to be able to close in on the Lee Sin. He's not going to be able to escape as we just finish him off. Karma is going to pick up the kill.